HBS's What More essay, an open-ended essay prompt that puzzles many. What exactly should you write? Well, I've already done a video on how to approach this essay, but today we're going to try something a little different. Hi, I'm Shinewald, founder of mbaMission, and today we're going to review a full essay from a successful HBS applicant, one that we showcased in my book, What Matters and What More, 50 successful essays from the Stanford GSB and HBS and why they worked. We're going to critique it, not to give you a template for what to write, but hopefully to give you a sense of how people execute. Let's do this. Okay, one quick word though before we start. HBS accepts applicants, not essays. So you don't know what this applicant's GMAT was like, GPA, work experience, and more. This essay may speak to you or it may not, but this applicant was accepted for more reasons than just this essay. There's a lot of judgment in this process. So let's review this HBS application essay.
As we review your application, what more would you like us to know as we consider your candidacy for the Harvard Business School MBA program? I was never the strongest girl on my volleyball team. Outgunned by my teammates, I earned my spot on our varsity squad and the respect of my teammates by being the nimblest defender on the team. I leveraged every inch of my frame to protect our team from letting the ball sneak through. For years, in high school and at Vassar, I was dogged about training and drilling and found my place by leading by example. Yet, during my junior year of college, this role I'd earned ended abruptly. I re-injured my knee, irreversibly this time. Even with 10 to 15 hours per week of physical therapy, a knee brace, and cortisone shots, I couldn't jump or lunge or leap or dive the way my team needed me to. I needed to pick myself up and find a new way to contribute to my team.
Okay, so what do we get from this introduction? Our opening sentence gives us a healthy dose of humility. I was never the strongest. We learned that this applicant is a hard-working, committed type who experienced a setback. The problem is established and there's no request for empathy, no tears. You can see our hero takes the setback in stride. Also worth noting, the language is very straightforward. There are no words you need a dictionary to read, and the story isn't spectacular but is relatable. Many applicants will think to themselves, I thought you had to start TikTok to get into HBS. That just isn't the case. This strong applicant is sharing her values and how she experienced a setback and evolved from that point forward, and that is valuable. Okay, let's get back into the text.
Although I could no longer play, I made it my mission to attend every practice. With my fresh perspective from the sidelines, I noticed and coached my teammates through precise technical improvements. I also started mentoring freshmen who were new to the daunting schedule of a varsity athlete. This sudden break from competition, while emotionally difficult for me, led to me finding a love for mentoring, which I have continued to pursue professionally. While letting go of my identity as a competitor was one of the hardest things I've ever done, this experience taught me that there are so many ways to be a leader.
As suspected, our applicant leverages her setback to reinvent herself, not just in one small way, but in many. She finds a new role with her team, helping improve technical skills in the court and helping freshmen adapt off the court. Through this setback, she transitions from a passion for volleyball to a passion for mentorship and renews her identity. This is an easy-to-follow narrative and one where we experience the applicant's capacity for growth and change. Again, appealing traits.
What my resume doesn't represent is my ability to assess new situations and adapt my leadership role accordingly. Even in situations that are not tailored to my traditional skill sets, I will always find an opportunity to contribute and lead, whether it is bringing a new perspective or challenging the original scope of a group's mandate. For example, when the CTO of Pepsi asked my group for help, I found myself confronted with a new challenge. His goal was to surface new innovative projects for the IT department. With limited knowledge of the IT group, I knew the only way I'd be able to help lead the session was to first just listen. I got a better sense of the group's current projects, their bandwidth and budget constraints, and any anticipated impediments to innovation. This knowledge enabled me to create an agenda focused on breaking down barriers and using my knowledge of the broader organization to introduce areas of the business that could benefit from the IT group's extensive expertise. Using this agenda, I led 40 subject matter experts in an engaging discussion that resulted in 6 new IT projects. Even though I was in the front of the room, my leadership role was not to come up with the actual ideas, but instead to add a new perspective and guide the discussion. The session gave the subject matter experts the tools to think in new and constructive ways, and eventually come up with new projects that will help Pepsi's many businesses grow.
So, if I were to critique this essay, I would say that of the last 2 paragraphs, the first is a bit of a tell. We understand that this individual is able to adapt her leadership skills. I think the transition here could have been through an engaging narrative. That said, via the story of prioritizing IT projects at Pepsi, we see her growth and evolution and her adaptable leadership skills. She isn't revealing herself to be an IT leader. She doesn't even have a strength in IT. She is showing that she can listen and lead experts at a global firm. Clearly, she can perform in a new environment on and off the court and now in the corporate world simply by being a thoughtful, adaptable, there's that word again, leader.
Similarly, I knew that the New York PACE Junior Board's primary focus is to create a successful premier fundraising event to help fund New York PACE's mission of supporting local entrepreneurs from under-resourced communities with pro bono consulting services and seed money. I understand and appreciate the value of that marquee event. However, I wondered what else we could do. Trying to think from the perspective of these entrepreneurs, I envisioned how daunting it must be to build a robust network. Yes, New York PACE's consulting teams were helping some, but the teams were temporary while these entrepreneurs were trying to build something for the long term. I wanted to give them not only the funding and advice they deserved, but also a better support system. Knowing that Pepsi had sponsored a number of events at the Barclays Center, I convinced Pepsi HR to let me reach out to the Barclays Center and pitch an event on behalf of New York PACE. I subsequently planned a special evening for 35 of our New York PACE entrepreneurs and their guests and our consulting teams to mingle, get to know each other, and experience the center's renowned light show. The event was a first step in making the entrepreneurs feel like they are part of a bigger ecosystem. And since then, following my example, other junior board members have started planning similar events for the group.
Okay, so as we progress through this essay, our writer is now bringing us into her community life to show her range. And notably, her community example is substantive, not just window dressing. Via New York PACE, she isn't just using her skills to advance her team of underrepresented entrepreneurs, but is thinking altruistically and proactively advancing the entire organization's interests. Not only that, she has skills of persuasion, engaging Pepsi and the Barclays Center to do so for these entrepreneurs as well. What's important here is that this isn't just a kitchen sink essay where she's saying, and another thing is, this example is substantive and reveals a spin on her clear leadership orientation.
Being a leader is also about using my expertise to help others. After 2 years in his proofreading and copy editing role, my best friend's little brother Julian felt undervalued and started contemplating a job switch, but was nervous about the interview process. Even though he works in an entirely different industry, I knew I could help. I encouraged him to go after something great, reviewed and gave him feedback on his resume, and walked him through mock interviews. When he got the job of his dreams, I introduced him to the idea of comparables to help him negotiate his new salary. Since then, I have helped Julian structure his pricing for an entrepreneurial venture he is starting to build. To me, leadership is about using your expertise creatively and sharing knowledge with others. Since my injury in college 6 years ago, I've appreciated that there are many ways to lead and contribute to my professional and personal teams. At that time, I believed being a leader meant having all the answers, but I've grown significantly and now realize that there is much more to leadership than that. Being a leader is about listening and being dynamic about which leadership tools to employ so that I can bring out the best in those around me.
Finally, we have a personal example. Again, we have range. Our hero is effective on small teams, leading organizations, and one-to-one. One might get to this example and feel like these words could have been better deployed elsewhere, maybe to more thoroughly develop prior examples. And this essay is 938 words, so there are a few words to cut. Still, adding the ability to truly connect with a single person is a nice and warm finisher. Finally, our conclusion is an effective summary, and by the end of this essay, we certainly feel like this applicant understands her strengths and has the capacity to develop, learn, and grow. Again, a point I made earlier, our applicant is very accomplished and impressive, but none of these achievements are unachievable, earth-shattering, you could never do this in your life types of experiences, so don't be daunted. So that's an essay. You should take a look at it. You should think carefully about your story and how you want to present your narrative. This certainly is not a how-to. And for even more HBS and GSB essay examples, download our guide, What Matters and What More, 50 Successful Essays for the Stanford GSB and HBS and Why They Worked. You can also sign up for a free consultation to speak with me or another mbaMission consultant about your HBS application or really anything related to MBAs. We'll give you our expert and honest opinion. Finally, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for even more MBA application tips. Thanks so much, and good luck with your application.